Hello, hello.
Hello,
Hey,
everyone.
Isaac. Hey, Alex.
Hey, what's up, Ruby? What's up, Alex?
Hey, so I don't know about you all. It's November 22nd today. I had to check the date for a second. So that means that, at least in the US, it is holiday season officially. This week is Thanksgiving. So at least at my house, it's pretty hectic. We have all kinds of stuff happening. I put up the holiday decorations. I'm actually hosting a Friendsgiving this year, so the pressure's on to make sure that, I've got all my groceries in, everything's clean. Some folks are staying, so yeah. Lots of side pressures for me this week. Isaac, how's it on your end?
Nice. Yeah, same. Getting ready for the big Thanksgiving dinner. My mom's already got the turkey in the freezer. We should be defrosting that because it takes at least like 2 or 3 days to properly defrost a turkey. So I'll give you updates on that later. But I'm excited to eat and see family.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have a frozen turkey on Thursday. But Alex, you're in Spain, right?
Yes, I'm in Spain, in Malaga, the south, and we don't celebrate it here in this country, in Spain. But I had the chance to experience, kind of, how it was like because I used to work in an American company. So we did it one day once, and I don't know if this is the official way to celebrate it, but we just brought a different kind of food meal that we prepared at home, and we had the chance to share it with each other. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, I feel like it's always up to individual groups of folks to decide how they want to celebrate it, right? Because it's supposed to be, at least from my experience and opinion, just people coming together, right? So if you're doing a potluck style, like doing your own meals, I think that's beautiful and super awesome that you got to experience that. But yeah, while folks are jumping in, you might have already seen the caption on the screen. Let us know where you are joining us from. I'm going to actually share that. Oh, looks like we are waiting for a couple folks to add where they're joining us from into the chat, and then I'll pull that up on the screen. But yeah, if you don't yet know about our student community here at Postman, welcome, first of all. And I do want to let you know that our team here on the student programs side of things at Postman, we promote API literacy and education among students and educators as well through a couple of different programs, which you'll find on our webpage. Let me flash that across the screen. There it is. And that webpage is also where you're going to find more information about earning free certification and badges. And for other folks who are not aware, we also have a LinkedIn page where you can find all of our recent announcements and updates. So let me share that LinkedIn page really quickly. Stuff like our latest blog posts, information about upcoming events, both in-person and virtual events like this one. That information is all going to be on that LinkedIn page. But speaking of upcoming things, we have a huge announcement today for our audience, but especially for those student community members in our Discord server. Isaac, do you want to do a drum roll? Maybe Alex, you can help me out with a drum roll. I don't know what that's going to do to our mics, but let's see.
All right, here we go.
All right, so today is the first day of our Discord-only Flows Hackathon. You heard that right. It's a Flows Hackathon. So some of us may be familiar with Postman Flows. There's a ton of posts and videos on it from our Postman team and even from some of our Supernovas. But we now have a hackathon for Flows called Go with the Flows Hackathon. You can find all the information that you need about that hackathon and connect directly with the engineers who created Postman Flows in our Discord server. So let me actually put that server link up so you can see where that is. The only spoiler that I can share right now about the hackathon is that the student expert training is going to set you up for success in the hackathon challenge. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I don't know about you, Isaac or Alex.
Yeah, these are great news.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm excited to get into the flow of it. No pun intended.
I love it.
Yeah, we're super excited about flows. The team is working really hard, and we can't wait to show you, what you can do with it. So definitely keep up and register for the hackathon.
Agreed. I cannot wait to see what folks submit for their flow. But yeah, again, you can find more information about that on our Discord. Oh, looks like I got a little bit of an echo there. All good. But yeah, cool. So we got our major announcements out of the way. Let's get into some introductions. My name's Ruby, and I'm a senior developer advocate on the student programs team here at Postman. I'm coming to you all from Providence, Rhode Island, which is on the east coast of the United States. I host these live streams with my co-host Isaac. And Isaac, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Ruby. Yeah, so hello everyone, my name is Isaac Atif, and I am a developer advocate also on the student programs team here at Postman. I'm coming to you live from New York City, and I'm really excited to bring another student programs live stream here with Ruby, where every 2 weeks we'll share some cool new demo or workshop, or even bring on a guest, either a postman from Postman, or somebody totally new. And we have someone totally new here to bring with you. Everyone, please welcome our new Postman guest.
Okay, I think it's my turn.
Yeah.
Hi there, I'm Alex. I live in Spain, in concrete in Malaga, just at the bottom of the country, next to the Mediterranean Sea. And I worked as a quality engineer at Automattic, the company behind WordPress.com. And in concrete, I worked in WooCommerce, one of the most popular plugins to create online stores using WordPress. And apart from that, I also contribute with the Postman Supernova program. So I usually speak at events about API stuff or Postman-related content. Lately, I've been speaking mostly about API-first approach, which from a quality perspective, I think we really need to push with this and to learn the basics, because there is so much things to benefit from. And yeah, I think that's an introduction about myself.
Yeah, awesome. So it's really cool to hear a lot more of your background, Alex, than even I was prepared for. So I have a lot of questions for you. Hopefully we have time to get to those as well. But yeah, let me actually... sorry, Isaac. Do you want to share really quickly what it is that folks can expect from our live streams?
For sure. So you can expect bi-weekly streams with a regular event. As I mentioned before, we'll come to you with a demo on how to use Postman to make calls to real-world APIs, like we did with Alexi when we played with the Spotify API, or when we also brought on Ian to talk about how to find the right API to get the job done. And those are just a couple of streams that we've done. Every stream is something new, where we'll either be teaching you something, talking to a new guest, or really just bringing something for you to learn. And we're exploring this and learning this live with you as well. So Ruby and I don't practice this. This is all live as well. Mistakes tend to happen, but that's the exciting part of it. And what is on the agenda for today, Ruby?
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for teeing me up there, Isaac. We're actually going to try something new today. So in addition to a humongous announcement that we just made about the hackathon on our Discord server, we're also going to be trying a new segment where we cover the student expert certification, or we just take a quick glance at what it even is, because we talk about it a lot. And so I'm sure there's folks that are curious about what it looks like. So I just flashed what we're discussing across the screen here. And yeah, so we're going to be checking out the Student Expert program super briefly. By now, we all know that our Student Expert program offers free certification for folks who want to share like a public badge and API knowledge with their networks. Today, we're going to dive into what the training looks like and how to follow the training directions. So if you're curious about what we're checking out, you can follow along by applying for the Student Expert program at the link that I'll share in just a moment. But please don't forget to select live stream when you're setting up so we know where you're coming from. So here is that expert link. So many links. There it is. Cool. And I'm going to jump to my screen over here. Awesome. So what I'm looking at right now is what you would see if you use that link. You'll come up on the student program landing page. And if you scroll down and check out Student Expert Program down here, select Learn More, and scroll a little bit further. You get a chance to apply for Student Expert. After you fill this out, spoiler alert, I've already filled it out, you'll get a link to our Academy. And so what the Academy looks like is this right here. And this is the landing page for the Academy. Once you're signed up, you'll already have access to 2 courses. I'm going to jump right in there. And you should see an Intro to APIs in Postman plus Postman API Fundamental Student Expert Certification. So this first one kind of gives you all the background knowledge that you would need to complete this. But this is what's going to get you that certificate and badge. So let's see what that looks like. Looks like you have a quick course overview. I'm going to look at before you start because that's unlocked. And it looks like there's a quick heads up that, hey, if you're going to do this training, this is what it'll look like in Postman. And you should really pay attention to the Visualize tab once you start sending requests, because that's where you would get your directions. So I'm going to keep that in my brain. I have to check out the Visualize tab once I get into Postman. So it looks like I'm all set with this. I'm going to select Next over on the bottom. And now I'm at Start the Certification. So just a quick glance at this, it looks like I have to do a couple of things. I have to make a public workspace. I have to fork the Student Expert training. Looks like there's a link here. And eventually, it looks like it's telling me to, again, pay attention to that Visualize tab. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to go right into Postman. So I'm signed in right now into my Postman account. Oh, looks like there's a little bit of an interesting thing going on with our screen here. There we go. So I'm signed into Postman now. This is what it looks like with your free account once you're signed in. I'm going to go to Workspaces over on the top because I remember the directions said I needed to create a new public workspace. I'm going to go to Create Workspace. Not sure why there's a little bit of a visual lag here with Restream or with our streaming platform here. But I'm going to go into Create a Workspace. Up here, I get an opportunity to give it a name. So looks like the expert program had a recommendation for the name. So I'm just going to copy that.
I think, Ruby, it might be, I'm not sure why, but the dark mode on stream might just be like, the stream might not like the dark mode. That's my guess. But I could see the screen now, so I can, looks good.
I wonder, okay, so I'm going to do light mode there.
Did that help?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one.
Oh, I could. So it looks like, yeah, it's still a little wonky, but I could still see. We could still see you're creating. You're picking the visibility for your workspace.
Nice. Okay, so this is just happening on how I'm sharing, but Postman looks just fine to me on my screen over here. But what I'll do is I'll paste in the recommended name for my public workspace. I'm just gonna actually start it though, or preface it with my name here. And it has to be a public workspace according to the training directions. I'll create that workspace. Cool. So I've created the public workspace here. Going back to the directions over here. Now I can fork the Student Expert training if I click this link. I can go over to the More Actions menu and fork this collection. I'll call it my fork, and it's going to the workspace that I just created. I'm not going to watch this collection. That's okay. I just don't want notifications about it. I'll fork it. And voila, I have the Student Expert collection now forked into the new public workspace that I created. So looking back at the directions again, because it's always a good habit to look back at those Academy directions, after I have forked it, looks like I can start running these requests and seeing the Visualize tab. So checking out my fork again over here, I can open it up, check out that first request, send it, and down here in response world, looks like it's waiting a little bit to send that request.
While we're waiting, just to demystify any questions people might have about Postman's with Ruby's great intro. Oh, looks like it loaded.
I'm happy to get back to that, Isaac, right after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, after sending this request, it looks like I got a response body from that first request. And this is a little bit tricky to read. Looks like it's in the Pretty tab right now. The directions in the Academy actually suggested that I go to Visualize. I'm going to go there. And what that does is actually open up a really nice user-friendly way to follow these directions. Looks like there's screenshots I can compare my work to and follow along this way.
Nice.
So awesome, super helpful. Let me actually, looks like we're all set with that one now. Here we go. And we're back. Cool. So
Awesome. That was fun.
yeah, we just took a look at the Student Expert training and how to follow the training directions by using the Visualize tab. I have a quick question for you, Isaac. One, what was it that you wanted to share earlier?
I wanted to answer questions some of our new guests might have, like what is a workspace or what is a collection? And just by saying that a workspace is a folder of collections where you can store any new collections you create. It works like that way. And a collection is just a folder of requests where you can store any new requests you make.
Yeah, so it's just nesting, right? So your workspace is like the biggest thing, then you have your collections within that, and then requests within your collections. Awesome. Thanks for that tip, Isaac. And then my other question for you, Isaac, do you see a lot of folks reaching out with questions about that Visualize tab and the directions?
I see someone here, Chand, mentioned still the same. So I think he mentioned that I think he was talking about the Visualize tab looking kind of little interesting with the shade, but I do have a question about that Visualize tab. So how do I use, so if I'm doing the training, what do I use Visualize tab for? Like why is it important?
Yeah, so that Student Expert training specifically is designed in a way that's helpful for newer developers or new to Postman folks. So just clicking into that Visualize tab helps you dissect what would have been HTML or JSON format into a different view. It's just easier to read, easier to follow along, great for beginners, and that's why we have it. So we really highly recommend, and it's in the directions, to use the Visualize tab. Awesome. So I'm going to actually shift now. That was our segment on the Student Expert certification, and we're going to get into why Alex is with us, because we have some exciting stuff to share with you that he's been working on. Let me actually quickly share what we're discussing now. Nice. So yeah, again, we have Alex with us today, and he mentioned that he's a quality engineer with Automattic, and he's also one of our Postman Supernovas. But Alex, really quickly, do you mind sharing with our audience what a Postman Supernova is and what they do, in case folks are curious?
Sure thing. From my perspective, a Postman Supernova is just basically someone highly interested into APIs and also Postman, and who is always looking forward to contributing with the community and sharing things, and also ready to learn new things from other folks, because we don't know everything. So yeah, basically someone who is interested in APIs, Postman, and is looking forward to contributing to a community, to share with everyone things that they learned, participate in discussions, suggest new things that you might find interesting in all the API stuff and the Postman tool. Not just tool, but ecosystem, because for me, Postman is more than a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I had to summarize that in few words, it would be just APIs, Postman, and community.
Yeah, for sure. I love that, the way that you distilled that. That's awesome. But yeah, I think whenever I think of Supernova, I think of somebody who's community facing, right? They're always promoting API literacy and API first approaches. And sometimes even I think Supernovas get access to things that other people don't yet. So that's a super exciting program that we have. Cool. But yeah, jumping into what we're doing today, on our student programs team, we see a lot of folks in the community asking about projects that they can work on. And, you know, we've had a few folks on our streams with us to talk about their cool side projects. But Alex, I got to look at one of your personal projects recently, and it's quite unique. So for today's episode, we're going to dive deep into what you've built. So let's get into that. before we share your screen for your demo of your project, I'd like to know, if there was a movie trailer for your project, what would the giant Hollywood captions say about your project? Like, what's the quick pitch for your project?
That's a good question.
I like that question, Ruby. I would also like to chime in with I don't have a project to show, but like my own answer after Alex goes, or
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I would say this is about a completely Postman-based tool for gathering new resources for learning about software development.
Cool. So this would be a project that's really interesting to someone who's new to software development. Is that right?
Yes, and I think it's interesting as well because it doesn't demand any specific knowledge about any other technology, any other framework or tool. And it's a bit disruptive in my opinion. I mean, it's not the first one and not the only one that does this, but I think it's a good example of another non-usual use case of Postman, which is creating new tools, because we all usually do that for designing APIs or test new things. And I think we have a lot of stuff there, a lot of features to create tools that lives by themselves.
Yeah, awesome. I love that movie trailer. So before, again, I know we're like building up the suspense to your demo, but what motivated you to create this project? Was there any particular experience?
Yes. It's everything started with the Postman API hackathon back in 2021, I think. It was a great experience. I wanted to participate. I wasn't familiar to JavaScript yet. I moved from a Java object-oriented programming world, and I thought it was a great opportunity to learn about more about Postman, and also about JavaScript, and also to participate in a super cool event.
Yeah.
And just started thinking about ideas, and just I wanted to transition from a quality engineer job to a software development job. I'm not actually moving from a role to another, but to be capable of working on different tracks. And I thought that it would be a good opportunity to participate in the hackathon, and at the same time building something for myself and for others that might be in a similar situation.
That's awesome. So this is like really rooted in trying to extend your skill set and your portfolio pretty much, right? It sounds like, again, that this came because of, I guess, the motivation of a hackathon. So that's a huge coincidence that we happen to have a hackathon going on for Flows in our Discord server. Awesome. Now we can kind of jump into taking a look at your project. So let me actually pull that up for you here. Here we go.
All right. Yeah. So here we see the public workspace for learning assistant for this project, and basically we can see two different collections. The learning assistant one, which is the main one, and also the environment UID finder. That actually wasn't planned at the beginning initially, but I saw some gaps in the learning assistant collection, and I solved by this way. We will come into that later. So the first thing you would like to do when going into this workspace would be, of course, reading the documentation. And here you can find it here. Basically, you can find what is learning assistant about. You can see that it retrieves learning resources from multiple sources, like a repository from GitHub, which I think is one of the best ways to learn software development. You won't just find tools and frameworks. You can also find repositories with information and documentation and books even. Also a Docker image, because I think that there are a lot of stuff already done as part of Docker containers. So I think it's a good resource to keep in mind. Initially, I wanted to create this tool to retrieve blogs, articles, posts from Medium, but the Medium API is private. And I would like this to be easy to configure and free, because I wouldn't like to force anyone to acquire any plan from a third-party tool. And this is how I found about Dev2, a huge community about software development. I think it's great and it's open to everybody. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the thorough documentation here. There were some points in your documentation that I found very interesting because I had a look at this earlier. Do you mind scrolling down under where it says how it works?
Yes.
It looks like, so you're going to send a bunch of stuff over to a Slack channel, sounds like?
Yes. Yes, this is the flow. So basically what it does is retrieving information from different APIs in order to retrieve and gather these resources that we mentioned, store them in a specific format and a specific object, so that all of them have the same format in order to be sent later to a Slack channel. So we will do a demo later, and we will see that we will just run this and see everything in your own Slack channel that you can configure by yourself, and all your information will be ready there.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Sure. Okay, let's move into that. The first thing we would like to do is forking the collection, both collections actually, because we will see that we will need also the environment UID finder. I already did this one in my personal test workspace. So let's jump into that. We have the forks of those collections. And if we open the Learning Assistant one, we will see different requests. The first thing, well, I will jump directly into the environment UID stuff in order to keep postponing that. One of the problems I found while working on this is that I was able to retrieve all the information from the different requests that you can see here, but it worked properly when you run it as part of the collection runner, because there is a flag that you can enable in order to keep the environment variables. But if I run it inside a monitor, which is how we will be able to periodically retrieve the information, you can set the Learning Assistant for every day, every week, whatever. So we need Postman monitors for that, like a cron job, in order to trigger the event. In order to do that, I needed something else, because I couldn't store the information in the environment. The environment wasn't being updated with information. And this is how I came up with a solution for this, creating just a new collection that retrieved the current environment, which is this one in this case, get the UID, and persist that as part of the Postman API.
Oh, awesome workaround. So this was stemmed from the monitor not being able to get that variable?
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting. Very cool.
Thank you. Basically, we need just...
Yeah, that looks awesome. Alex, I had a question. So you said this was inspired by the Postman. This started because you entered the Postman API hack. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like maybe a little bit about what it was like attending it, or was it inspired from a project you saw in the Postman API hackathon?
Sorry to interject there for a moment. Isaac, that's a fantastic question that I think might take away from the demo that we're in at the moment. So
okay, yeah, that can come
for
later.
sure. Let's definitely save that for right after the demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, feel free to continue, Alex.
Nice. So yeah, this is how I managed to solve that problem. So Postman Learning Assistant is just a tool that you set up once and you forget about that. You just need to check the Slack in order to see what it puts on your Slack channel every day, every week, or depending how you configure it. But it requires this initial setup, which is just getting your current environment. In this case, I have everything populated in order to perform the demo. So if you want to start with this, just execute this collection. You can do that with a collection runner or sending each request manually, and your environment would be already set up and stored, persisted in the Postman API thanks to this put request. And after that, we just can jump into learning assistance. So the first thing it does is retrieving the information of the environment from Postman API. Basically, it retrieves, thanks to the UID that we got from the previous collection, it retrieves all the information of the environment and put it on your current environment. Then it retrieves the, well, this is something funny. I wanted to retrieve our repository randomly from, depending on the description that you set. You can say, okay, I want, in this case, I configured the environment to retrieve repositories about test automation. As a quality engineer, I want to find new libraries, frameworks about test automation. And in JavaScript, for example, as you can see here, GitHub API is quite powerful. So you can perform a quite accurate search depending on how you configure the search params. So in order to do that randomly, I initially configured a request. So in the pre-request script section of your GitHub request, it sends an initial request to retrieve initial payload, check the count of repositories of your search, and auto-calculate the number of pages depending on the amount of the count of repositories in the response body, and how you configure the items per page and the number of pages.
I see. So a quick question here. It looks like you're using variables here for your GitHub item description, and that query that you mentioned for things that you're interested in. Is that one of these variables as well?
Yes, these are environment variables.
Gotcha.
That we set up here.
Cool. So this is all stuff that would be present for somebody who forks these collections as well, right? They'll see those variables and then know that they can insert their description and their queries. Cool.
Yeah, this is everything configurable. And in case they don't add anything, it checks for the default parameters. Nice. So that you don't get any API error or anything. If you don't enter any specific information, just send the generic one.
Awesome. Feel safe.
Yes. So once this initial request is sent, we get the number of repositories on the search, the number of items per page, and number of pages. So it randomly, it should be here. Yeah, it gets a random page in order to avoid repetitions and incremental stuff. So it gets a random page and picks a random repository. Here we have just a little bit of control error in the test section. Once we retrieve the information of the repository we're looking for, depending on the response, we check if it is empty, if there is any auth issue, because you exceed maybe the free rate limit, or if there is any specific authentication issues. So this is something that we will use later in the Slack request at the end of the flow to check if we can paste the information about the repository, if there isn't any repository. So just a little bit of control error for later. And yes, we just, if there is any repository, if we got a valid repository from the GitHub API, we just build an object with a specific format, which it will be similar. Well, not similar for everyone, but every single request, but will be understandable for the script that will send information to Slack.
Nice.
And this is the object, basically the object that we will save in the environment for using it later.
Cool. So it sounds like you're chaining requests this way. You're setting that object and it's being updated dynamically. Interesting.
Yeah. That's it. You pretty summarized it pretty well.
Very cool.
We do the same for this is the same behavior for all these requests except for Dev2 and YouTube, and I will explain it later. In case of Docker, we do the same. There are different limits because the default limit changes from one API to another, but the behavior is pretty similar. Just a little trick. There is no, at the moment this collection was created, there were no information about the Docker API. I don't know if it's already in place, but I just checked the Docker Hub page, and thanks to the DevTools, your browser DevTools, you have enough features and enough capabilities to check if the front end of the Docker Hub, for example, in this case, was calling to an API. And this is how I discovered this API. And just thanks to being a little bit curious, you can find out several things that might help you with your projects.
Yeah, I feel like that's the name of the game, right? Whenever you're building something out, you always stumble upon something helpful. So it's awesome to hear that that worked out.
Yeah, you try to find every single opportunity in everywhere you can.
Awesome.
So yeah, we do the same. We get a random page that is found randomly and dynamically depending on how you configure the number of items per page, number of pages, and depending also the number of items that are in for your search in the API based on this initial request that we send. And we do the same also in the test section. We have this little control error for the Slack request later, and we prepare a the scroll just again got out of control. We prepare an object with a format that can be understood for the Slack request later at the end of the flow. And now we got into the you can see here a lot of comments.
That is definitely like an essay of comments.
Yeah, in this case, it was different because it didn't retrieve the number of counts in the response. So it was hard to figure out to find a fixed number of pages, because if you don't know the number of items that are there in the API for your search terms, it's hard for you to figure out how many pages you will have. So I had to find a workaround for this, and this is what basically I explained in this book. Yeah, as at the moment it was created, the collection was created. There was the API didn't have that capability, so I just went into a sequential approach, an approach where you retrieve the first item, and the next time Learning Assistant is run, it will take the second item and sequentially. And this is why I needed to persist the information in the environment. And this is why I needed to create the environment UID collection to solve that problematic.
I see. I have a quick question for you. So on this book that you have in this request, was there any specific reason why you didn't add that to documentation for this collection?
Yeah, there is a strong reason for that. And it is because my intention while creating this workspace, this collection, wasn't just to keep it for myself. I wanted people to keep contributing with that. So in order to communicate the reasons why I made some decisions or another, I just wanted to leave it clear in the comments, just in case anyone jumps into the code and maybe that's weird because it isn't following the same approach that other requests, or it's not clear or something.
Yeah, awesome. So that makes sense. I think if this is also mentioned in the documentation, that's another great spot to turn people's attention to this request too. But yeah, good to know that this is open for people to contribute to as well. Like we saw earlier, you can definitely fork this into your own workspace, change it, and use like Postman's version control to suggest merges and make pull requests, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you for clarifying that, Ruby.
Yeah, no worries.
And yeah, basically there is another book here. But basically we have the same or similar control error control, and we create another object to be sent later to Slack. We have the same approach in YouTube. YouTube is a bit more complex because first you need to retrieve the number of the number of videos. In this case, I was thinking about talks. When I thought about basically all these APIs to retrieve information, I was thinking about different kind of resources. We have the repositories, we have the Docker container, we have the article. You want to read something, that's for dev2. What other ways we have for learning things? We have talks. This is why I relied on YouTube. And in case of courses, we have also the Udemy API later. And in case of YouTube, it was a bit complex because the API is quite cryptic.
Yeah.
You need to first retrieve all the list of videos. Then you need to hit another endpoint in order to retrieve the information of that video, because you won't get anything readable. You just get some attributes with numbers and something that you can actually read. And this is why we have two requests for YouTube. One for retrieve the talks of your search, and another one for once you get the ID of the search you picked, just for in this case, we use that ID in order to retrieve the information of the talk, the URL of the talk and description and so on.
Awesome. Quick time check here, Alex. We have about 5 more minutes. Do you want to give us like the highlight reel of the remaining requests and then run it for us to see what happens?
Yes, for sure. Yes, we also have the Udemy request, and well, this is just an inspirational quote to keep you and encourage you to keep learning. And we persist the information of the environment for the YouTube and Dev2 requests, which are the items are picked incrementally, not randomly. And then we send everything to Slack in this format. Now I will run it. I could do that through the collection run it, but let's stick to the real use and let's create a monitor for that. This is another reason why you would need to fork the collection. Not mock servers, monitors. Yeah. Let's create one. In this case, let's put it learning assistant demo.
Yeah.
Let's pick the collection. Let's remember that in this case, I don't need to use the other collection because I already prepared my environment to run. It contains all the information we need based on the attributes and the environment variables defined in the request. Yes, let's use the current. This is just a single version, and let's use the environment. Otherwise, the tool won't work. And let's put just every day at 10 p.m. It doesn't matter now because we will trigger manually the monitor to check that it works. And yeah, I don't need to. In this case, I don't need to configure anything else. Just the collection, the environment, and let's run it. Okay, this time, this is the channel that I configured in Slack to retrieve all the information. This is from yesterday. Ayer is yesterday in Spanish. And let's trigger that manually, okay?
So we're going to have stuff post to that Slack channel is what's happening here. Cool.
Yes, we will retrieve all the information from different APIs.
Mhm.
Information like article about test automation, talk in YouTube about the same stuff. And then we will send all that information into a channel, a private channel in Slack, where we will be able to see what we gather and just use those links in order to keep learning by ourselves.
Awesome.
Okay, seems it worked. Let's open now, and we have a new message. It says, "Hey, take a look to this repository." In this case, is TestCube. You can see the description, the stars on GitHub, the link if you want to check more information about that. And it also recommends the PowerShell with test dependencies container by Microsoft. And I use the popularity attribute in order to find out how popular it is, I think it's a good indicator to know about more about the container itself in this case. In case of the article, it recommends the Git Panic, removing and restoring work. And you have the link here, the reactions, the tags. You can find more information about what it is about. For the talk, you have the test talk episode 2, test automation, and a short description. You know that it has 500 views, and you have here the link of the talk in YouTube. And same for the course, REST API testing, automation using Postman. Curious. I think I didn't enter Postman in the environment description. So
Fun coincidence.
yeah. And you have the price and the link to the course, and just a single quote to encourage you keep learning.
Oh, that's nice too. Right at the end, I love the way that you formatted this. So somebody who's like a newer software developer, they'll definitely get a lot of value out of a tool like this, because they're getting these recommendations, right? Even for like a course and relevant talks. Super cool. Isaac, I know you had a question that you were holding on to. Do you want to share that?
Sure. I just asked, like, what was the inspiration for this project related to Postman API?
Yes, related to Postman API, more than an inspiration, it was a necessity. I needed to perceive the information in the environments, and I needed to do that on a way that I could script. So Postman API was the best and the perfect tool for this. And there is also a small inspiration, a little of inspiration about that, and it's that I wanted to build something just entirely with Postman. I didn't want to rely on any other specific tool. I wanted to check if I could do that entirely on Postman, and we can.
Yeah, that's an awesome learning. Great takeaway. But speaking of
Nice.
Yeah, speaking of learnings, was there any challenge or something that you were stuck on? You talked about the UID quite a bit, but was there any other learning that you got from this project when you were building it out?
Yes, I got some other learnings. I think I highly improved my JavaScript skills. It was my first experience with JavaScript. I have used it with Postman all the times for automating things, but we have those wonderful snippets that allow you. If you use a snippet, they are so specific and so great that you don't actually need to write some code, some complicated code. Everything is so easy. So here in this tool, I got deeper into JavaScript stuff, and I think after this project, I felt more comfortable working with JavaScript, and that's a good indicator because now I'm working entirely with JavaScript, my current role. So I started actually with this tool in that language, and also I think that if you have an idea about where you want to use any specific API for a single purpose, if that API for some reason doesn't fit you well, don't stop at that. Look for an alternative because there are several APIs that you can use for your purposes, and some of them might be free, some others don't. Some of them might fit your needs, some others don't. But we have a lot of stuff to choose from.
Yeah, for sure. I think seconding that idea, if that's a word, you mentioned that definitely keep looking for an API that does the job that you want. Our previous episode was on finding the right API for the job and all the different ways that you can do that. So if you're curious about, what to do when you can't find that exact API, feel free to check out that episode that we had 2 weeks ago. And then one thing that you had mentioned, Alex, was test snippets in Postman being super helpful. For folks who are curious, we have documentation on that and literally everything else in the Postman app. Over in our Learning Center, that link for that Learning Center is on the screen right now. It's just learning.postman.com. Cool. So that was a whole lot of fun checking out your project, Alex. I love how detailed you were about explaining every step of it, and especially the places where you had to rethink what to do. That's always really helpful for us to see, and especially for students to check out and know that it's okay to get stuck. And those are the opportunities for you to really learn something new. But yeah, I'm going to flash our Student Expert application across the screen one more time. For those who are wondering about our student programs, like we mentioned earlier, the Student Expert program gives you the space to learn about APIs at your own pace. And you can earn a free badge to show off your API knowledge. So, if you're wanting to tinker around with APIs, that's a great place to start to get your skills up. Student experts also get to join exclusive expert-only events from Postman. If that's something that's up your alley, when you apply for the Student Expert program, don't forget to select live streams so we know where you're coming from when you're applying. But let's jump into some highlights and shout outs of our awesome student community members. So let me flash this one across the screen. So many links. It's going to be our MO here. Cool. So there's our Postman Discord link for folks. But yeah, we see a lot of folks really stand out on our Discord server, which you can join at the link that you see. And recently, one member in particular, Alexander Elise, shared a repository with a bunch of examples of how to use Joomla web services with other APIs. So he has some examples in that repo that he shared in our Share Your Work channel in Discord to help others learn about Joomla with Airtable and Joomla with GitHub GraphQL API, for example. So clearly, folks in our community are rock stars at learning, and they love sharing their new learnings with others. So if you're a fan of picking up on new technical skills, you might want to check out what folks like Alexander Elise on our Discord server are sharing. And we often see people doing cool stuff on Discord, and sometimes these folks do get featured on our live stream episodes. So if you've seen a couple of our episodes in the past, you know that we pick up people from our Discord server all the time. So super exciting for folks who are in that server. And then like we mentioned earlier in this episode, we have a hackathon for folks who are in our Discord server. So please join if you're interested in that hackathon on flows. But before we move on to Kahoot, I wanted to ask my friends here, Alex and Isaac, do you have any highlights or shout outs of your own that you want to share?
Sure. Shout out to the Abbey for sharing their GitHub game. They shared a Flappy Bird game, which is really cool in our Discord server. And also shout out to Himika, who wrote a blog on time blocking to help with productivity and work.
Awesome. Very good, helpful information. Alex, did you happen to have a shout out as well?
Yeah, I wanted to highlight the work Valentin Despa, one of our Supernova's friends, is doing on his YouTube channel. He's posting some great high-quality content about Postman and testing as well, and everything about APIs. And also Fabian Feld, another Supernova mate, who is really contributing with Spanish communities. I think that's quite valuable.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen Fabian in our chat sometimes jumping into these streams, and I definitely remember seeing Valentine's YouTube videos when I was first learning about APIs and even the Student Expert program. So definitely really meaningful folks in our community as well. Thanks for sharing those shout outs. But yeah, let's move into our community Kahoot game. It is a community game too, I guess. I'm going to display this across the screen, and I'll edit it to include the code that we see here. Actually, I guess I can't share it while I'm editing it. So give me just 1 second. Add the code here. Looks like. And I'll share Isaac's screen in just a moment so that you can join us for our Kahoot game. So whenever we have a couple minutes left together, we like jumping into a Kahoot game to see what folks were able to take away from this episode or previous episodes. If you've never used Kahoot, it's a quiz game that you can play for free with all of us right now by logging into kahoot.it. You'll see that on the screen. You can log in on your phone's browser or on your desktop browser in a new tab. But once you're on kahoot.it, you can enter the code that you see. Yeah, let's see who's able to jump in. We already got folks in here. We got Giving Fox and Blue Tiger. There's always some fun names in here.
Nice. It's Kahoot time.
All right. I wonder what kinds of questions we're going to see today. Gentle Dolphin. That's a great name.
So if you're familiar with our Kahoot games, you know that typically we have really close competition. And this time I expect it to be no different. So people usually are winning in the beginning, and then we see like a really close game by the end. So it's always fun to play these. So please join up our Kahoot game. before we start shortly.
Yeah, for sure. I think the last time we saw a few folks get that little fire symbol next to their name because they had a winning streak.
Yeah, there were like 2 players that were on a streak, so it's really fun to see that.
Nice. I think we have
Darren Camel. My money's on Camel.
they have a daring name. But yeah, we can jump in now. I think we're at quorum for the last second. Zany Sea Lion.
Okay, here we go. Time to start. Kahoot time.
All right, mental drum roll. Let's see, what's this first one?
In April 2022, Postman announced that over blank developers have adopted his platform to build and use APIs. Which one is the right answer? Is it 200, 1,000, 30,000, or 20 million?
Over how many developers adopted the platform? I feel like there's a 2 in the number. So it can't be 1 or 3.
I guess.
Nice.
Oh,
Ooh, we had a couple folks who thought it was 30,000. Interesting.
it's not 30,000, it's 20 million.
Yeah, that's why Postman's such a household name at this point, right? Over
It's
20 million people.
Industry standard. Cool. So we have Legend B in first, Giving Fox in second, Blue Tiger, General Dolphin, and Daring Camel all tied. All right, next question. Who was our Postmanaut guest in our most recent stream on November 7th, 2022? That was last stream. Was it A, Isaac's pet dog, B, Carson, C, Ian, or D, Pooja? So if you were here in our last stream, you would know the answer.
I wanted to say that we will see who participated, but if it wasn't Isaac's pet dog, I would love to see one with him. With that.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. We have a request for that. And nice. 3 people chose the correct answer. It was Ian.
I would also second that, Isaac. So if you want to throw your pet dog on our next episode, I wouldn't be against that.
Definitely for Bring Your Dog to Work Day. I will bring my pet dog to the stream. Awesome. So in first place is Giving Fox. Second place, Gentle Dolphin. Third place, Legend Bee. Fourth, Daring Camel. And coming right behind, Blue Tiger. As a Postman Student Expert, you will receive, is it A, API and Postman training, B, Postman Student Expert badge, C, exclusive access to Postman and meetups and events, or D, all of the above?
Wonder which one it could be.
I know most people would probably guess C, right? Because everyone wants that badge, but is it C?
Right, and then the exclusive, it's all of the above.
Nice. Everyone picked, 4 people picked all of the above. That's correct. Ooh, Giving Fox with the streak.
Ooh, with that flame. Check that out.
That's a Firefox. Now we have General Dolphin coming right behind, Daring Camel, Blue Tiger, and Legend B. So some people are scoring points here. What was the topic of our most recent stream and our last stream? Was it A, hackathon tips and tricks, B, developers do's and don'ts, C, finding the right API for the job, or D, the best snacks at a startup job?
That last one feels controversial. I'd love to know what people think the best snacks are for a startup.
Definitely Oreos.
Just small tip, it was mentioned in this stream also. So if you pay attention.
It was. Good job. 4 people chose the correct answer, finding the right API for the job. Good job, everyone.
Alex with the hints.
Yeah, that hint came in just in time. Somebody pressed the button right after Alex gave the hint. Nice. Gentle Dolphin climbing up. Giving Fox. Ooh, so Gentle Dolphin took first from Giving Fox, and Daring Camel's on a streak, so this might be close. Let's see how things end.
It's getting tense.
Last question. Postman is great for working in teams because it allows you to add comments to a workspace, share work in a team, collaborate on projects, or all of the above.
I feel like we tout Postman as a collaboration platform quite often, so could be any number of these.
It could be. All right, and the correct answer was all of the above.
Awesome. All right, let's see it. Who's on
There
the
are
podium?
winners. Oh, nice. Blue Tiger coming in third. Okay, Giving Fox in second, and
Bum, bum, bum.
the suspense.
General
Congrats, General Dolphin in first. Congrats to everybody who played. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
That's awesome. Congrats to these folks and to everyone who played as well. I do want to circle back to use a term for corporate culture, but I do want to circle back on that, what's it called, that response. That was, what's the best snack at a startup? I'm just curious, Alex and Isaac, what do you think would be the best snack? Specifically at a
it definitely at a startup. Oh, definitely has to be. I think my favorite snack was like any fruit bar, but I don't remember a specific one, but I especially like those Kellogg's fruit bars, the cereal bars.
That's a good choice.
In my case, if I want to be correct and healthy, I would say fruit. But to be honest, I've always seen some companies that had ice cream on the office, and I never experienced something like that. So maybe I will go for that.
Can you tell me who has ice cream in their office?
Yeah,
these are the real industry secrets that we should be trading.
Most of the companies that I've seen that do this are related to gambling, trading, that kind of business.
I'm just kidding. That's awesome. I think my favorite snack would have to be something caffeinated. So maybe like a toffee bar or something, because it's a startup, right? So you need a lot of energy for that. So yeah. This was super fun. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us and talking through your project with us. I know our viewers are going to get a lot of value out of that, and especially with forking it and trying it on their own. Isaac, thank you for your co-hosting and for your awesome Kahoot game. But yeah, with that, we are all set with this episode. We will see you actually on our next episode is our last one for this year. So it's our season closer. We have a super secret guest lined up for that one, but it won't be so secret for those folks who are on our Discord server. Let me quickly flash that Discord link one more time. So if you join our Discord server, you'll have a heads up on who that super secret guest is, and you'll get to join our hackathon. But yeah, with that, finally, we are going to see you on our next episode. Bye, y'all.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye.